kind of explaining the purpose of your podcast. What you guys are doing, it's great for the community. It's good to hear what others are doing too. We just reflecting back on our upbringing in Samoa. We always want to know what's the blueprint, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you look and you see success, but how do you measure success, or how do you achieve success without having anyone providing that guidance to you? So I'll try to do my best, at least from my perspective, and my definition of success based on my upbringing, and hopefully that provides some value to someone out there.
Man, you nailed it right there, man. That's exactly what we're all about. Shout out to my Uce Ed for getting you on the platform, man. We just thank you
Yeah.
for this opportunity. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and chime right in.
Why, Uce? Why, Uce?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Uce Podcast, the number one podcast that helps you pass time. And how do we do that? We do that by bringing folks like my man Major Arlington Tasi here on the platform, just to spread some wealth, some knowledge and some wisdom for our coconuts, man. You know what it's all about, guys. For the common listeners that always tune into the Uce, you know what we're all about. So today I'm excited to have Major here with us today to share us about life in the military, in the reserve, and then life afterwards as it continues on. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, man, let me just break it down for y'all, man. This man has been active duty at the U.S. Armed Force and served for quite a bit. Arlington also, did you retire? Or did you just, transition right into the reserve in the year of 2013?
So I'm still in the reserves right now.
Correct.
Yeah, one of the older folks. It's a running joke in the military. When you join at a young age, you're always looking at the old folks, and you kind of tell them, hey, it's time to hang it up. But feel there's still some in the tank. We still believe in the purpose of why we serve. So I know a lot of my peers have retired, but just giving back on the reserve side. So that's our contribution to our nation and also to Samoa itself. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. And you did 20 years before you retired? You did a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, I'm roughly around 17, 18. So
Nice.
yeah.
That's still the retirement, right? Because now they changed it down to 17 or 18.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of reserve side built in and some National Guard side time built in. So I did a little bit of what they call AGR. So for those in the military who are familiar with what AGR is, it's kind of like the hidden gem of the military. If you can get your AGR job, that's life right there.
That's crazy. Yeah. And just for our coconuts, especially for our youth and stuff, man, this man also was a teacher. You had time during your active duty time, right? As an officer, you were assigned to go teach over there at Oklahoma State University.
Right. So there's several. If you're an Army officer, normally you get different assignments in ROTC or what they call OCS. So you're kind of selected to serve as that role, as providing that mentorship for young officers who are coming in. So yeah, I did a bit of my share in the ROTC. So I was also brought up in through ROTC at the University of Oklahoma. But once I became an officer, eventually one of my tour of duties was assistant professor of military science at Oklahoma State. Yeah, so good stuff. Providing back that officer insight to some of the young high school students who are wanting to pursue an officer route. So I strongly encourage that route to our young folks who are in the military.
And Major, you were born and raised in American Samoa?
I was born in California, so we moved to Samoa back in '82 or '83, and stayed on island until I graduated from high school in '92. Then joined the military around '94ish. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and that's the first question that I got for you today. How did your early life in Samoa prepare you for the life in the military?
Um, Life in Samoa, it's all about taking care of family,
Mhm.
right? Take care of your family and your peers. So one of the first things that you notice in Samoa is it, it's not how would I say this, financially being financially sound in Samoa at a young age, 18, getting a job there, it, it's difficult, to make a living off of it. So most of us young ones at the time is you look and you see life in America. That's the lure. Uh,
Mhm.
how can I make it as an armed service member? Not knowing what you're getting to, but you know that income is much higher than what you would make in Samoa. So that was kind of my way into the military. But the values that you learn as a Samoan kid through your village or through your family is pretty much what um, that's your core. And a lot of us who are not in the infantry, you try to seek your other Polynesians or other Samoans, and it's that value. What are you doing to provide for the family back home? So for me, my parents were still at home, my brothers and sisters were still at home, but that was what drove me. That was my drive when things got tough. And as much
Yeah.
as there are times when you want to quit, things go wrong, you want to fight. A lot of that stuff is it's normal to us young Samoans. But you start thinking about your parents and why would you want to jeopardize your young career when your family is depending on that
Mhm.
on that income. So yeah, I think that's what drove me for most of my career was um, taking care of the family, and also although all those years I was supporting my family, the Falavalavas were something that my family
Mhm.
highly relied upon me. So if I jeopardized my career, I pretty much cut off that source of income that the family needed, you know, for those Falavalavas. So Falavalavas is part of our culture. And I think that's one of the reasons why we continue to push in our careers, whether it's military or education or anything in that nature, is taking care of the family, not just your immediate family, but the larger family. And then I would say like the greater families, like your village, right? What are you doing to
Yeah.
produce for them? So yeah, that was what provided insight for at least for me.
And then your journey as an army person, as an officer, how did that experience as an army officer transfer, from key skills to your role as a project manager, which you are currently, and also, as a reserve?
Yeah. So just wanted to go back a little bit for those who don't understand the difference between an enlisted guy and an officer.
Mm.
So I started as enlisted, but even at a young age, 18, 19, um, I I was still looking at the end of the day, it's how much you bring home. Like, well, what is that income like? And every enlisted person who's just joining the military understands initially when you come from Samoa, that first paycheck is probably the biggest paycheck you'll ever see compared to what you make in Samoa.
Oh, yes.
Short, very short, you'll understand that that source of income is not close to compared to what you would make on the outside, and that enlisted ranks is not sufficient, at least for in America. So what opened my eyes was even at a young age, I seen these two young officers. It was different than all my enlisted peers, young guys. They drove in these nice cars, and I asked around, how do I, how do I asked my sergeant, how do I make that kind of money, right? Even at a
Mhm.
young age, I was already forward thinking. Um, I want to make that kind of money. I mean, they're young like me, but I'm not even making close to what they're making. And the sergeant told me, "You have to go to college, you idiot." And I was like, "That's it." So even at a young age, he supported me going to college. There were uh, exhausting evenings where most folks would um, close up at the end of the day, your normal military day.
Yeah.
But for me, I was going to night school. So, and there's times when I'm in the field and I'm dirty. because you're in the field. But then my sergeant, I would tell him, hey, I got class tonight. Can you drop me off at class? So he would drive me in a Humvee and sit outside of, waiting for me until we're done, and then we'd drive back to the
Wow.
field.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So those are the types of dedications that you have to commit yourself to. And becoming an officer is one of the proudest moments in my life, because I remember my dad visiting me when I was in ROTC, and there was a pamphlet, and I showed my dad this pamphlet, and I said, "Dad, look, according to this ROTC pamphlet, when I graduate, I'll be making at least 44 or 48, just base, not all the other additionals, which was way more than what I was making as enlisted. And at 44,000 doesn't seem like much. I know that's, much past one of my early careers, but that was a stepping stone, for me as a young lieutenant, making that kind of income.
Mhm.
But over time, for most military folks, you climb the ranks, and of course that money starts to increase drastically or significantly. But it comes with a lot of responsibilities too. So a lot of those leadership qualities is what corporate America seeks. A lot of the young officers in any branch in the military,
Mhm.
it's hard to retain them in the military. Once you make that captain rank, it's highly sought on the outside. So you're going to get paid 3 or 4 times that amount on the outside. And for me, that was my transition point as well. Once I reached captain, I started looking at what my peers were making on the outside. I was questioning why were a lot of these captains leaving, $80,000 jobs, $90,000 jobs
Correct.
for industry. And to me, either you stay comfortable because 90 grand is a lot, right?
Yes.
For especially coming from Samoa. But then compared to what you could make on the outside, that's the I wouldn't say it's a risk you take, but the opportunity is there. So to say to not take that chance and make that extra income that most of the folks that officers were making, I think it's foolish. So just words of advice to those who want to pursue a similar career. Um, Being an officer is great. Take all what you learn from the military, but never forget, like, keeping your eye, what is industry asking for? What is corporate America looking for? And how are those skill sets valuable to the outside that it can transition? And that's what I did was um, I looked at what fields were available and what was close enough to what I was doing in the military. And project manager and program manager were the closest because it mimics the staff work that we do on the military side. And the money is great. The money is great on that side compared to what you make as a military officer. So I'm not going to deny that. So that's the transition I wanted to make, convey to those who are looking is like, okay, how did you transition from an active duty officer to the civilian world, and why did you do it? Was it a difficult transition? Initially, it is, because corporate America doesn't care what you do in the military. They want to see, can you now um, do what we want compared to what the military does? Then you have to prove it. Are you a quick learner? What are all the certifications that you have? And a lot of that stuff the military is already provided to you, so you benefit from that. So all the applications, whether it's Excel, project, or if you have some budgeting skills, all that stuff. I mean, it's a win for any company on the outside to take you in. Scheduling is a big thing, right? Do you have any scheduling skills? And if you know Microsoft Project, oh my God, that's like, additional money, on top of that. So those are the transitions that I would say from the officer to the program manager side.
So you mentioned you're making more money off of that. Why still hold on to the reserve side? If
Yeah,
that's the case.
yeah. To me, the physical fitness part is one. Like, do I have the discipline to to continue to exercise on my own. But to me, I still feel like I want to be part of the fight because a lot of my
Yes.
peers are out, and they're always saying, "Oh man, I miss those days." So it's my small way of saying I can still contribute to the nation.
Nice.
Um, and I feel that the days that my legs won't keep up with my body will be, probably the time to quit. And there's a lot to learn. I mean, the changes that we see on the news and all the threats that there is, even though we're in the reserves, we're well aware of all the changes that, the nation's doing. So it's not so much different what active duty is doing than what the reserves are doing. And it's one of those things in the event something gets too bad where they're calling up, retired folks and reserve folks. I want to be ready. I still want to be at least in good shape to be able to respond, to be well aware of all the changes and be in the know rather than relying on the news to tell me what's the latest changes. You want to be in part of the decision making or at least make an impact. So that's kind of why I stay in. And on top of that, I go back to pay, right? Where else can I get paid for,
Yeah.
2 days a week and make $2,000 plus? So not bad for a part-time job.
No, not at all. Sounds like to me that you're, all your time as an officer, well, as you're still doing that, you become strategic in life, right? You got to stay ready just in case, man. Also, at the same time, make money. That's nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's no different than any other job out there, and everyone is doing the same, right? We're all chasing, you know, being financially sound and being prepared. The economy, you hear it all the time. All right, people are struggling out there. There's always a rainy day, so you can never sit comfortably and thinking, "Oh yeah, I have enough." And I think that's the other reason why we're always making sure that um, you don't want to be on the wrong side of things when things go south. So, and then also, um, like for my daughter, she's going to be 21. These are the values that I want her to see. I want her to look back and see how far her mom and dad have been pushing themselves. There's no excuse for us not to set the example or set the benchmark. And one of the things I always tell my daughter is, you have no reason to not do better than me. You were born in America. I was born in Samoa, and I have pride to know that I outcompete a lot of folks who were raised and born in America, like even other nationalities. To know that you can do much better than them, that's the advice I tell my daughter. I've set the bar for you, and I don't think it's too high, but that's the blueprint for you. You should at least meet where I've left off or do better. Like, you definitely should do better. And I think that's setting up the next generation for success, is challenge them to be like you, do greater. Am I better than my dad? I would say, financially, far surpass what my dad. Um, but the other topic I want to talk about was um, the Samoa, right? So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's the balance we have to find as Samoans is, did you go so far in pursuing a career that you neglected your own culture? And for me, it's one of the regrets that I have, because um, my dad was very strong in Whangu. And even at a young age, he's seen something in me, and he had tried to give all these Samoan books to me. He tried to share the cultural stuff. So even though I was going to Falalavas, I wasn't immersed in the leadership role, right? I didn't serve as a Matai. I was so used to doing it for hours, that was
Yeah.
my role. So long as the family seen me there, I didn't miss a beat. I jumped in and did all. It wasn't until like many years later, I look around and all my elders are passing.
Yeah.
And you start to think, you know, the, who else knows how to speak the, Matai language, and who knows how to, prepare all the CEs and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
It's more than just knowledge, but they expect you to have, that conversation in the Falupolu, right?
Hmm.
The Matai language. It's not just like, oh yeah, I can speak Samoan. It's, can you converse with them at the Matai language? And then, you also have the Falwalo language, which we hear a lot in the churches. I mean, when I share with my dad's still alive. He's about 82 right now.
Oh,
And one of
nice.
the things I share with him a lot is, the guilt, I feel guilty because I look at the guys that I grew up in Samoa and I see them in the Falablavas. I see them outspoken. They're the ones that are leading things. They're Matais and, you know, I'm very honored to see that they're picking up the culture. And compared to myself, I say, man, so I asked dad, I'm like, Dad, that's the trade-off. I feel so bad that I lack so much in my own,
Culture.
culture because I did everything to take care of you guys, to take care of our family.
Hmm.
And one thing he did share with me was, son, what I want you to understand is there are a lot of other folks, who are strong in the culture who would like to trade seats with you.
Correct.
So both sides are feeling they're missing a piece, and I know the ones that are strong in the culture. I admire their efforts, and I give it all to them for taking care of their families, whether in Samoa, just holding it down, because they could have done well just like I have,
Yes.
but they're the ones who are making the sacrifices back home. But so, what is my contribution, right? What is my contribution to the Fa Samoa? And um, to me was the financing, right? Anytime
Hmm.
there's a love, whatever amount was asked for, I had no room to complain. And so long as I was providing income to support those levels, I felt blessed. I felt blessed that I was giving back to my families, or the village, or anyone that was needing that financial support. So I think there's a lot of us who may fall in that category. Is you know at times we feel like we're the lost ones, and but I just continue to encourage those who are also in a similar boat, who are struggling with not having the Fasamo background. So what have I done since I bought like so many books, probably $1,000 worth of Samoan books. Um, Watching a lot of the YouTube videos. There's a group called Samoa Fasol, Samoa Fasol. It's There were like two professors from the university, in Upolu. So they share a lot of what they teach at the university level, in their syllabus. And a lot of that knowledge, that's how I learned, learning the history, learning what the Falpenga, um, what Palanga Upus, that's another one.
Hmm.
So um, one of the things that I did was I spoke to my father was as I was studying more and more of our culture, I felt that it was important for me to at least pursue a Matai title, and it has nothing to do with like a power struggle, but to me was um, looking around and seeing that there was not many folks who want to promote the culture, preserve the language. And that was just one of the elements in my toolbox, my Samoa toolbox was um, to carry even if for me it was like even a low Matai title was all I was needing. And that stems from for all of us Samoans who've been in the Samoan family talks, even even as successful as I was as a military officer, what I found within my family was my rank does not hold a position for me to speak amongst the elders. And that's just our culture. That's just our culture.
Yeah.
So, nothing wrong with that. So I needed to go and seek a Matai title just to have a voice in that circle, right?
Yes.
Like
Voice on the
even when I
table.
was, even as a captain, I'm told, please go back there. That's where you belong. You belong back there because you haven't earned your right in this circle, family circle. So I respect that decision, but it was a turning point in my life that I said to myself, how can I be, you know, a leader in the military and someone that manages millions of dollars on the civilian side, budgets, $1 million budgets, but I can't even have a say in
Your
Samoa
own
on a
family.
lot of decision makings, right? So respectfully, I just wanted a voice in that circle. I felt that I know how the world operates, at least in America, that I can share some of the knowledge from my civilian side into the culture. And it turns out, it did, right? There's a lot that I learned from them, and there's a lot that they learned from me. So there's a fine act of how do you immerse yourself without disrespecting the culture, without disrespecting the elders, still value their input because that's you know they know the culture more than you. So you can't just walk in and say I'm the Matai, everyone bow down to me. No, to me it was like it's still a learning process, but I always start with humbly telling them, I'm here to learn. You know, you know, wherever I go wrong, tell me, where I need to correct myself. So it's to me, it's like training. It's like new training to me, but I've learned so a lot, so much, over time, and I really appreciate the culture means a lot to me, and culture preservation is, in my heart, what I'm
Yes.
really pushing forward to. So yeah, I think what you guys are doing here is great. So
I
turn it back
appreciate
over to you.
that.
Yeah.
No, that's great, man. Well, before I say something else, man, I want to go ahead and just drop a faumu, man, because that's a lot of accomplishment. And the fact that you went ahead and then humble your title, and not, because our Samoa community, man, it's a different ball game, man. That's our little sound bit. Shout out to Ben Jeezy for that idea. But staying on to our culture, right?
Mhm.
When we were emailing, I was really surprised. This is the first time I actually heard of this. Now, you said with your journey as a Matai, now that you are a Matai, you have a split title
Mhm.
uh, of the what is it? Tashi Yafi
Tasi
Matai. Now, what is that? Is that like a Samoa thing, or is that like a American Samoa?
Uh,
Again, I'm the same as you. I
like
take a lot from it.
the split title, is that what you're referring to? Yeah.
Correct.
If you look at the Samoa history, there's a lot of examples of split title. So even prior to when the three superpowers divided the Samoas, it was common to have a split title. The danger of having a split title is when you have two of the leaders not in agreement and they're going in opposite directions. So I'll give you an example. So on my mom's side, she's a Taufa'asau.
Mm,
If you look at the histories of the Monga title, right? The Monga title, which is, everyone knows about the Monga title in Pango. If you look at the early histories around 1870s, 80s, there was a lot of battles over that title. And there was at times, there were several Mongas at one time. And like even during the deed of session, right? Like my great great grandfather, Monga Tofasau, was, a dual title holder. So there was two title holders. But I think Samoa is very cautious of pursuing a dual title, even though it does exist, because of the it's like two opposite ends, and it's hard to get a single decision making because you know a lot of the times it's about people who are fighting for the power of the family.
hmm
Um, so you run into that danger of two clans splitting, the family, and then the families are warring against each other. So that's the downside of a dual title. But like, why didn't me and my younger brother choose to do the split title of Tasi Taufa'asau? So the title was my grandfather's title on my dad's side. When he passed on, then my dad took the title. And although my dad is still alive, Samoa, they're very taboo when it comes to taking the title of someone that's still, alive.
Mm.
But my younger brother, Fatu, who's in Seattle, as young as he is, he made the family so proud, and especially me, just the way he speaks and the way he carries himself and the way he was presenting the families and the churches in that area, and the way he understood the culture and the Fasamoa and the Failaunga, everything he was equipped with. He just didn't have a title. So I proposed this idea to my father was, Dad, if it's okay with you, can you pass the title to, my younger brother Fatu? Because man, look at all the qualities he brings, and he's already practicing, and people are asking him, "Why lo swafa?" And he says, humbly tells them, "I don't carry a title, but And to me, that was a missed opportunity for our family to get recognized. And
Mm.
I told my dad, um, the Matai title, if you look at it, they're supposed to be used, right? And respectfully to my dad, he's reached an elder age. He's a title holder, but he's not using a title. So we need a voice of the family. And I convinced him to pass the title to my younger brother, but my dad saw a lot in me, and he felt like, why don't you want the title? So he made um, he made a decision. Either you split the title with the younger brother, or the title goes with me to my grave. And to me, I didn't want, I wanted my, younger brother to have the title, but the only way my dad agreed upon the title being passed on from him is if I agreed to split it. So that's how we decided, let's honor what the old man says. We got his blessing. He says, so long as we split it, you know, that's fine. So I think that's what it's so peaceful with the title transition to myself and the younger brother was, even though I didn't want anyone on the outside to say, oh,
Mm-hmm.
because you hear that when people see there's two title holders, they're going to say, oh, these two brothers are in disagreement, so that's why there's two titles. But that was never the case. It was a decision my dad wanted, and I'm just honoring what my dad says. But if it was up to me, I would have passed the title straight to the younger brother because of the respect and everything I've seen that he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my dad, he respects both of us, but um, he's seen a lot in myself that he felt that you should have a piece in that title too, rather than dismiss it altogether. So that's where we're at, with the title. So and everything, every time there's a fall I've loved it, first thing the younger brother does calls me, what should we do? Here's my thoughts. What are your thoughts? So I like how we do it, and I give a lot of respect to him and how he's carried because I'm learning a lot from him. He's so far advanced than I am in the culture, so I've been leaning on him a lot to bring me up to speed. Yeah.
Yeah. You ever plan to move back to Samoa anytime soon or in the near future?
Yeah, there's always that opportunity to go back home. So I was back home in 2018. Kind of shared my thoughts with the family. You know, looks like I'm wrapping it up on the military side, and Samoa is always home.
Yeah.
I think there's some value that I can go back and pass on to the family. Um, I don't know. Home is calling. I tell my wife, and and my family. Samoa's calling, but I got to wrap up things on this end to make sure um, that transition is set up correctly.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So that split Matai, is that where I hear a lot? I like the Matai named Seuli. You
Mhm.
heard of that? You have you heard of that, Makanye?
Yeah, you see that a lot, and so I don't want to get too much in Samoa history.
Mm-hmm.
American Samoa, we all knew, used to fall under one of the territories in Upolu, and every time there was wars, this a while back before the split, the superpowers, Upolu would call on Kukuila, and then they'd go and fight. Right, they'll go
Mm-hmm.
fight for those districts, and whatever district you were in Tutuila that supported those battles, and if you won, that was the thing that they allowed in Tutuila was you can have like you mirror the district or village from Upolu to American Samoa. So like for us in Wailoa, there's some titles that originate from Upolu. So it's not that the title moved from Upolu.
The
You'll ask,
origination.
okay, yeah. So like, where does Te'o come from? Where does Puakanga come from? What's the difference of Puakanga from Wailoa versus Puakanga in Upolu? The more you read into it, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Not to say that those are the exact ones, but you'll see that a lot, and um, it's good to know that where those titles came from, and yeah, knowing those origins. Of course, a lot of that comes into play when you're dealing with the Fasamo.
Yeah, thank you so much, Major. You have educated this coconut like I have been well informed as far as a career goes, transitioning from American Samoa, joining the army, and you started off as an active duty, then you jumped into the lieutenant, the officer side, or you was in basic. I mean, what is it, JRTC? Then you transitioned to officer, or you came right in as an officer.
Yeah, you join as an enlisted guy, so like what most guys do in Samoa.
Correct, as an
Yeah,
enlisted.
yeah, enlisted. Yeah, so that's what I did, and I think it was my third year as an enlisted when I started taking some classes, and then I got out after 4 years, and I stayed in the National Guard so I can do my ROTC. And so the first 2 years of college was just me doing my education, and then the last 2 years, you only need 2 years of ROTC as a former enlisted guy. So that's kind of my journey into becoming an officer.
Awesome. I know because I've always wanted to ask. There's all different kind of opportunities to get into it. And for the coconuts, that's another route. Just join
Yeah,
because a lot of our American Samoa, well, a lot of our Samoan family, they come from nothing. So
yeah.
like you said before earlier. But man, thank you for the opportunity. I know you're a busy man. Do you have any questions for the Uce podcast?
No, I really appreciate the time and for you guys to look into providing me that opportunity, at least to share some of my story. If it adds value to anyone, great. Feel free to reach out to me if you guys have any questions, especially education or the officer route or defense contractor, anything in that nature. Yeah, hit me up.
Yeah, man. And where can they find you at? Is it on LinkedIn?
Like for me, yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can also it's not that hard to reach me through Facebook. So Facebook just seems like everyone's family. Yeah.
Okay. Man, again, Major, thank you for your time, man. You hear it, listeners, man. This man right here, still a reserve major and also a project manager. Something that I personally like because I work on the logistics side. So I appreciate you for the info that you gave us, man, and I thank you for, taking the time out to share your knowledge on this platform, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
Really appreciate you guys.
yeah, man. But until then, listeners, we're out, man. Puni Moore and Major here.
All right.
Peace.
Let's have a good one.